Well, last week, the NFL formally appealed Watson's 6-game suspension, which was handed down by NFL disciplinary officer Sue Robinson earlier this month. NFL Commissioner Goodell says the league is seeking a tougher penalty for Deshaun Watson. At a league meeting called Tuesday, the commissioner said the evidence against Watson calls for a 1-year suspension. So question marks again arising there when it comes to QB1. As it stands right now, looking at the schedule, if Watson does miss those 6 games, it would be against the Panthers, Jets, Steelers, Falcons, Chargers, and Patriots. Depending on what happens, he would be eligible to return Week 7 on the road against the Baltimore Ravens. All right, Ryan Wilson tapping in from home this AM. And Ryan, Roger Goodell, of course, calling for that 1-year suspension while things are going on. Deshaun Watson making the trip to face the Jaguars, maybe his first game since 2020, since we've seen him on the field. But what's your takeaway from this latest news surrounding QB1?
Well, you mentioned that he could be back for Week 7. That feels like that's not going to happen. Once the NFL appealed the official ruling from Judge Robinson, and Roger Goodell's comments, as you noted there, Brandon, made it clear they're looking for something much lengthier than those 6 games, and it feels like a full season and perhaps even a fine on top of that, in which case he ain't going to play at all. And I don't know if the Browns are scrambling in terms of trying to find a quarterback solution beyond Jacoby Brissett, but they certainly had to have known that this was going to be the case. Jimmy Haslam, the Browns owner, said yesterday that they will accept whatever the ruling ends up coming out of the NFL whenever we get that and move forward from there. But this isn't what they wanted to happen. That's what the NFLPA said last week before the ruling was announced, that they were hoping the NFL would agree with whatever Judge Robinson concluded, the 6 games, as it were. The NFL felt differently. And here we are in a situation where when this ruling comes down, I'm guessing it's going to be closer to what Roger Goodell wants the entire season than closer to the 6 games that we saw last week.
Ryan, you brought it up there. If it is that 1-year suspension, you know, they came in with this plan that, all right, great, the 6 games, we could survive at least the first quarter of the season. But if it is 1 year, what's the options there? Is it Brissett there the whole season? Do they go outside the house, maybe looking at Jimmy G? What are the options here for Cleveland as they get ready for the season?
Well, the Browns are the only team with enough cap space to trade for Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't know if they're going to be willing to do that because he will be released, and if Garoppolo wants to go to a team with a chance to win, the Browns are probably going to be his best option. We know that Baker Mayfield's now in Carolina. He has a foothold on that job, so that won't be a destination likely. Seattle perhaps for Jimmy G, but you want to think about the Browns because Jacoby Brissett is a replacement-level quarterback, and I say that in the best possible terms. He's a guy that you can win for 4 or 5 or 6 games, like the suspension was at 6 games. You're okay with Jacoby Brissett there. If you're talking 17 games, you might want to graduate to a player who's played a lot more football and at a higher level, and I think Jimmy Garoppolo gives you that. Is Jimmy Garoppolo Deshaun Watson in terms of athleticism and QB play? No, but he's gone to 1 Super Bowl, had a chance to win it, almost went to another Super Bowl last year, had Jaworski Tartt not dropped that throw from Matthew Stafford in the middle of the field. So he has the pedigree, he has the ability, and obviously the issue is, can he get healthy? He appears to be healthy, and now we just have to figure out where he ends up and if the Browns truly are interested in getting him should Deshaun Watson end up not being able to play all year.
Let's look at some players for best fit options if they don't stay with their original teams here. Starting with his running mate there in the back there, Kareem Hunt made a trade request. Did not get the contract extension he wanted back in June. At this point, he was a hold-in option. But what is his best fit if he is moving on from Cleveland?
So he's in the last year of a 2-year, $12 million deal, and you can't have 2 running backs on the roster who make a lot of money. Nick Chubb is the other one, of course. This isn't 1993 where you pay your running back, so he's going to have to go somewhere else. And 2 landing spots I like, both in the AFC West. Kansas City, they have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and Jerick McKinnon's the depth behind him. You feel like someone like Kareem Hunt could return home. He was drafted by the Chiefs initially when John Dorsey was the GM and helped that team immediately in a post-Tyreek Hill world. And then another team in that division, the Chargers. The Chargers, of course, have Austin Eckler, and Austin Eckler is extremely explosive both as a runner and a pass catcher. They drafted Isaiah Spiller out of Texas A&M, but again, Kareem Hunt provides that depth, that experience, and that playmaking ability to allow Eckler to take those plays off. And while Isaiah Spiller, as a rookie, sort of gets comfortable in playing and play out in the NFL. So those are 2 landing spots, both in the AFC West, both winners. I would imagine when these guys want to get traded, they don't want to go to the worst team in football. So both with opportunities to win Super Bowls.
All right, of course, that 2-headed monster there when it comes to Cleveland with them back in that backfield behind Deshaun Watson this season, something they wanted to see. Out of Chicago, Roquan Smith, look, he made it official on the iPhone notes, sending a message that he wants to trade out of Chicago. This is a little different. He's 25. You can argue maybe one of the top 5 linebackers in the league, but what's his best fit if he's no longer with the Bears?
Yeah, I talked about this yesterday. Roquan Smith did a fantastic job with those iPhone notes, Brandon. He was very well spoken. He made his point, and he made it clear that he wasn't happy with what the Bears were offering. It sounded like the Bears lowballed him. Maybe the Bears want to move on. That's their prerogative, but Roquan Smith wants best for him, and that's certainly understandable. So 2 landing spots. Again, going to winners. We're not talking about losers here, Brandon. First up, the Ravens. The Ravens wanted Bobby Wagner this offseason. He ended up going to the Rams. They have Patrick Queen, but imagine Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen in the middle of that defense in Baltimore. He feels like a Ravens fit there, and that's something to keep an eye on there. And then finally, the Cowboys. The Cowboys signed Leighton Vander Esch to that 1-year deal. They just signed Anthony Barr off the street. They have Micah Parsons, you might say, but Micah Parsons is so incredibly dangerous anywhere you line him up, maybe even outside. So I love the idea of Roquan Smith coming into the middle of that defense and wreaking havoc as well. So they're 2 landing spots, 2 teams that are in the running to win their division and then make those deep playoff runs once they get there.
If you're looking for a receiver who's a free agent that has a ring, Odell Beckham Jr., what about his best fit if it's not there with the Rams?
Well, let's stay with the Cowboys. I mean, the Cowboys have a ton of issues at the wide receiver position. Jerry Jones has said as recently as a few days ago that they're not looking outside the organization to get one of those wide receivers. Amari Cooper's now in Cleveland. Cedric Wilson is gone. Michael Gallup's recovering from the ACL. James Washington, who they signed from Pittsburgh, is going to be out 6 to 10 weeks with the foot injury. So they have CeeDee Lamb, and, well, that's about it. They got Jalen Tolbert, who they drafted out of South Alabama, having a really good camp. And then you have a bunch of veterans who don't have a lot of playing time. So I think Odell Beckham might make some sense there. You have to understand he also tore his ACL in the Super Bowl, so he will not be ready at the start of the season. You probably have to wait till October, maybe even November, but something to keep in mind there. The Ravens, a team we just talked about, could also use wide receiver help. Yes, they have Rashad Bateman, who is balling out in year 2 during training camp, but then it's James Prochet and Devin Duvernay, guys who have been good but not great and haven't played a ton of snaps. Someone like Odell Beckham comes in the middle of the season, can offer some help there as well. And finally, the Rams. Why not send him back to L.A. where he won that Super Bowl? He and Sean McVay have a good relationship. They signed Allen Robinson in the offseason. You still have Cooper Kupp and Van Jefferson, but Odell Beckham knows the offense, and he would fit right in, gets along with the teammates and the coaching staff. Again, those are 3 teams, all winners, that have an opportunity to sign someone like Odell Beckham should they need him.
And Sean McVay's been recruiting him verbally since that parade there out in L.A., so we'll see how that pans out for OBJ. And finally, before I let you go, up in New York, Mekhi Becton, the same injury or the same leg injured in practice. What does this do for the Jets if you're talking about one of those key guys that you wanted to hope maybe keep Zach Wilson up? How does this impact them a little bit?
Yeah, they say hope isn't a plan, but you understand why when they had the 4th overall pick and took Sauce Gardner, they didn't take Ike Ekwonu, they didn't take Charles Cross, they didn't take Evan Neal, 3 offensive linemen that ended up going pretty early because they thought that Mekhi Becton was going to be there. Instead, they got Sauce Gardner, who's going to be a really good player, but it leaves a hole at right tackle. George Fant will be on the right side, of course. They have Connor McDermott, as the backup, but Chuma Edoga has played 12 games over the course of his career, 3rd-round pick in 2019. He was on the roster bubble until this injury happened, so he's going to be thrust into the starting position on that right side. 37-year-old Dwayne Brown has been in the mix as a possible signing. He's supposed to be in good shape, but again, he's 37 and certainly not the 23-year-old that you have in Mekhi Becton. So this is a huge issue, and there's no other way to look at it. They had a great draft. They had a great free agency period. You're looking for that next steps from Zach Wilson, and now your right tackle goes down, the former 11th overall pick. That's an issue, but you got to figure out a way to make it work, whether it's with Dwayne Brown or Edoga or someone else. That's what you got to do, and it's not great, but this is the NFL, and that's how it works, and Robert Saleh, going into his 2nd year, has to figure that out.
Right, I was going to say if they're depending on Conor McGregor, they might be in some trouble with or without Mekhi Becton. That would be interesting. I mean, to see him out there, Zach Wilson would definitely be in trouble in New York with the Jets there. R-Dub, always bringing it. Appreciate it as always. But you can catch with the Pick 6 pod, Will Brisson, the crew, joining John Breach trying to break down the NFC South and also reacting to the latest with Deshaun Watson. And again, Conor McGregor is not playing for the Jets. McDermott there. Just a little slip, but he caught it. But I'm just trying to imagine him in a Jets uni, how that would look out there as a tackle. It wouldn't be pretty. It wouldn't be pretty at all.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.